webinar, doing that.
All right.
Recording. I'm going to try going live in the group first. I haven't done this before. Let's do this. Share in a group. Gonna do that. There we go. It always takes a second with Facebook. Like all the things need to talk to each other and be nice to each other. Come on, Facebook. I wonder if it's waiting because we haven't actually started the webinar. Please have it late. Okay, whatever. All right, I'm going to start it.
Okay.
And just say hi to the people that are in there and ask them to be patient. Going live in 8,
countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, and hey gang. Oh, you can hear the chiming bells in the background. Hi everybody. I'm going to go live on Facebook here in a second. This, of course, is Nicole Chapman.
Hello.
Please say hello in the chat if you can see us and hear us. I'm going to futz with this Facebook situation here, and then we will be off and running. So keep in mind, you guys, as we're running this thing today, this is going to be more of a conversation. And would love to hear from you if you have any specific questions with regards to financial tips. Again, Nicole is a fantastic bookkeeper and financial strategist. She's also very well versed in the ways of profit first, which is exciting and something that not everyone is familiar with. All right, I'm just going to wait for this. Waiting for Facebook. What's the problem, Facebook? All right, maybe I'll try this again in a second. All right, who's in here? Is anyone in here and paying attention? Please put something in the chat so that we know you guys are hanging out and ready to engage with the session. Morning. Hey, Damien. Hi, Krista.
Hello.
Joining us, you guys. Really nice to see you. Howdy. Hey, Deborah. Hey. Glad you guys are here. Just waiting for the Facebook. Hey, Chris. Chris and Damien are in the same house right now. I know them both. They're both in my networking group. Hi, Erica. Hey. Awesome. Oh, my gosh. Frenzies. A lot of good folks in here today. All right. Facebook may not cooperate, and that's fine. That is just fine. If you don't want to play nice today, Facebook, then don't. We don't even care.
Facebook Lives have been just weird in general anyway, so.
Third time's a charm, maybe. I'm going to give it one last.
All right.
Thinking about it this time. So, for those of you who've just joined, this, of course, is Nicole. She is a lovely human. She is my bookkeeper and has really helped me to wrap my head around being mindful of my money, paying attention to my money, right? Which I'm very, very good at burying my head in the sand. You don't need to speak to that, Nicole. I'm just going to go back and sit. Please don't comment on that. She is not only owner of Fusion Profits, but she considers herself a serial entrepreneur and has been for the last 15 years. She's owned several successful businesses in both the U.S. and Costa Rica. We were just talking about how she just came back from Costa Rica. She was in Costa Rica for 10 years. I would have chats with her, and she would tell me about how the sloth took its weekly pee from the trees, because I don't know if you guys know this, they pee once a week, and it did it from the tree, and it sounded like a pipe was bursting, which was a really fun conversation to have business conversation, you know? So she's just coming back from Costa Rica with her family. She's focused on helping other business owners to become profitable, which Nicole is known for identifying financial weak areas in businesses, streamlining systems, and delivering the must-have clarity entrepreneurs need to whip their finances into shape. She traded her, so she's now in, I'm reading your bio here, obviously. She's traded her expat status to move to the coastal town of Charleston, South Carolina. Oops, she just disappeared. Nicole will be back. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, there she is. It kicked her off. That's a super fun aspect of having weak internet. Working on it, guys. Thanks for hanging in. There you are. It kicked you off. Wasn't that fun? I'm going to get rid of the slides here. So anyway, Nicole is back stateside, and she is so much more than just a bookkeeper. Obviously, she's a financial strategist, and what has been super helpful to me is not only is she keeping my books in check, but she's also she's building an awareness around where I am and where I want to be, because we all know that we need to keep a very clear eye on what's happening and where we want to go. If we don't know where we want to go, if we're not sure how to use our money as a tool, how will we move forward and make progress, right? So it's that mindfulness and that kind of practice that I've been working very hard to improve upon. I mean, we all have hangups, and I've talked about this a little bit with folks in my women's networking group. We bring weird shit to the table that comes into play from our families and our upbringing. So we sort of internalize weird narratives around money. So anyway, Nicole is here to chat about some key tips for financial success. It's going to be a conversation. If you guys have questions, we would love to hear. Go ahead and stick any questions you might have in the chat. We may ask for some specific questions from you, but for now, Nicole, take it away. Give us some key tips and lead the charge. And I always have questions because I'm a hot mess with money sometimes.
All right. Well, let's do it. Okay. So we want to just talk today about some key tips. And I would want to say my first tip really is to make sure that you have your bookkeeping in order. This is the foundation to your finances. This is how you know what's coming in, what's going out. You can keep track of it, who owes you money, what you owe. You need to have this information organized. So this is really the first step in getting your finances together. Because from there, once you have that information organized and you're watching it at least monthly, you can start to pull that data for different reports. You can pull an expense report. Again, you can see accounts age of, like, who owes you money. Maybe you didn't realize that, a bill or an invoice is overdue by, maybe even 3 or 4 months. So you need to have this stuff organized. So that's always step one, but there are different layers to it. So after you get everything nice and clean and organized, it's creating that plan like we were speaking about. And I really, really think that every business owner should create a plan that works for them. And you should start with what you want to take home. So this is something I hone in a lot on as well with a lot of my clients. Is what happens a lot of times in business is owners will, they kind of they give their business everything. So they'll hire people, they'll pay for, different subscriptions to different things, and they're constantly reinvesting in their business, but they're not taking home a pay. And you need to focus on that as well as you're growing, as you're starting, because the whole reason you're in business for yourself is
Uh-oh, did I lose her?
to take Hey.
Hey, Nicole, you're cutting out.
So this is one of the first things that I had people me. One of your very Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Okay. It's saying my network connection is unstable.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Technical difficulties, right? I thought I left this behind in Costa Rica. No. So yeah, so like I was saying, step one is having that financial data organized, but really creating a plan that works. Oh, there we go. That really creating a plan that works for you. And you most likely aren't exactly where you want to be today, right? But you need to have an idea of where you want to go. So you need to start mapping that out. What do you want? What do you want for your business? So as you're building out your plan, you need to think about these things. If you are in a service-based business, how much can you actually physically do yourself before you need to start hiring? How much automation do you want in your business? So all of this factors into your plan. And knowing those things also helps you really be able to focus on where you're spending your money to make sure that you're spending it efficiently. Because when you spend money, it's every dollar that you spend in your business should be an investment. So you should get a return on that, whether it's time or money. If you're educating yourself, it would be for, being able to enhance your services, which in the end would enhance your money. But if you look at everything that you invest in your business, it should be an investment and not just a kind of one-off, oh, I think maybe I need this expense. Like really think about those things. So that's all a part of the planning process when it comes to your finances. And so if you want to get down into the numbers, I always tell people to start with what you want to take home and build it out from there. So you start with
that. How would you recommend people approaching this organization, right? So because it can seem like a really daunting task for some of us, it's much easier said than done. Just organize it, right? Some of us can't. There's maybe a mental block, or we just don't know where to start. So what would be your recommendation for getting started with that organization?
Yes. So the first thing would be to educate yourself on what that looks like. But also, if you don't have the capacity for it, or it's not something that's within your wheelhouse, then this might be something that you want to outsource. So to a bookkeeper, or even in my group, I have trains just to get the basics started for you. So my group, Profitable and Empowered Entrepreneurs, there's actually a 5-unit trains with a couple bonus videos that can get you started with that organization. So making sure that your income and expenses and everything is actually in one place where you can view it. So that's where you would start. You would start either learning yourself, if that's something like that you feel like you want to DIY, or you would outsource that and make sure that it's nice and clean and clear.
Mm-hmm. And seeing if it's something that you do enjoy. I mean, maybe you do have a knack for it. Maybe you love digging into the data, and it gives you that sense of control. And I do think that as a business owner, it's important to not bury your head in the sand, to at the very least have a good, solid foundational understanding, and realizing that this is part of your responsibility as a business owner, and to really take control of that other aspect of your business. I do have a quick question here in the QA. Erica is asking, you're saying all expenditures are supporting a larger goal you've identified. Can you give an example of the items that would be the one-off spending item that we should stop doing, and the useful thing that reaches one of those larger goals set that gives you an ROI?
Mm-hmm. So this will be different for every business, but what I find a lot of people doing in their business is they're chasing the next shiny object. So they don't really have a plan, but they're getting sold something daily. We're getting sold something daily. This is going to help you improve your business. This is going to take you to the next level. But you really need to stop and think if that's something for your business that first you're going to use. Because where I see a lot of people get hung up, honestly, is in software subscriptions.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're great and you need them and they're useful for your business, but other times you buy it because you think it's going to automate something, and then you realize that it's not actually you're not even using it. So there's a lot of tools. One of the common things that I find with my clients when we start really digging into the numbers is there's a lot of tools that they're paying for that they don't ever use, and it's not helping their business. So that's always where I recommend to jump in and start looking at. So it's that, and then also
specifically when you say that. I'm just kidding.
No, it's everybody, because it's such an easy thing. You're like, oh, I need this. This is going to help me. And a lot of times it's always, when you're buying things for your business, is with good intention. But you need to really think about, is this going to move my business forward? Yeah. And if there is that thing that, sometimes it's a course, it's something with education, or maybe that person that you want to bring onto your team, but you're not quite ready for that investment yet. That's when you start to make a plan for it. Okay, so, I can't cut any more expenses. I've already gone through that. Everything in my business is helping my business move forward. Now I want to hire this person or do this thing. Now you create a plan for it. So what do you need to make in sales in order to keep moving your business forward, and also purchase that investment that's going to reinvest into your business?
Right. So making it more intentional. And we like to call it, in the digital marketing space, shiny widget syndrome, or shiny tool syndrome. Right?
Yeah.
And that is a problem that I have struggled, because we do get pulled in. We're marketed to, people are very smart about how they're doing that marketing, and it's easy to get sucked in. You want to believe that there's this one thing that's going to solve all of your problems. Yes, Chris says, shiny tool that you don't need. I mean, I'm constantly falling victim to things like AppSumo.com, and which Samantha, yes.
Hi, Sarah.
Stay off of AppSumo. I have learned that lesson. I still peek in once in a while because I can't help myself. So those are really fantastic points, Nicole. So when you're talking about making sure that you take a profit, you consider that profit that you need to be bringing in, because I think we will spin our wheels. I think that there are some of us that are much more maternal toward our businesses in some ways. And we're always putting other people first, which I think, by and large, that's a really great place to be coming from. But unfortunately, you find yourself working for free, right? Or assuming that you'll be taking that money out of the business later when you really hit it big. So could you speak to that concept of paying yourself first and what that might look like?
Yeah. So again, I profit first is something that really resonates with me, because I've used it in my businesses and seen a substantial shift in the bottom line and what I can take home and the relief of stress. So it is something that I really push, and it makes so much sense. So if you begin to take home a pay for yourself, and you know that this amount's going to you every month, and now you only have this much to spend, you're going to really think about those shiny objects, the tools, the different things that you might not need. And it does two things. One, it allows you to focus on yourself and what you're taking home, because you're in business, to make money to make a profit, to, enjoy that, in addition to having the freedom of having your own business and doing those things. So when you focus on yourself first, the second hand thing that it does is it makes you focus on what you're spending your money on and what you're investing in. That's why I say it's always important to look at things from, is this an investment in my business? What is this going to do for me? Is this going to help me move things forward? And so there's even a difference with the profit first method. Oh, sorry, were you gonna?
No, I was just gonna say some people might not. I'd like to see a show of hands, or give me a yes in the chat if you guys are familiar with Profit First. Are you familiar with that concept? It's a Mike is it Michalowicz? I think that's his last name. Yep. This is a Mike Michalowicz book, and it kind of flips that concept of taking the extra home. Okay, so Angela says aware. Awesome. Right? Oh my God, Samantha. So Samantha says, yes, but I've been dragging my feet implementing it. I'm so glad I'm not the only one. Nicole's like, Jesus, it's been well over a year for me. Yeah, it's the bank accounts. But, Chris is already using it. Wow. Okay, so a lot of folks are aware. I will put a link in there for the book. Mm-hmm. This is kind of how I found Nicole by way of Samantha, because I knew that she was familiar with and supportive of Profit First. Mm-hmm. So can you speak to the basic concepts of Profit First, yep. Nicole?
So the basic concepts are putting your money in certain areas, in different pockets. It's kind of like if you've ever used a cash envelope system, where you say, this is how much I have to spend on this specific thing. And so, but it actually works with bank accounts. So you start with 5 accounts, and to not overcomplicate it too much, you'll have your tax account, which if you're not setting your taxes aside and you work with me, or you know me, or you've had any kind of conversation with me, you know that I'm going to tell you to start setting aside, even if it's 1% of your gross revenues, you need taxes set aside. So set aside your taxes, you have your tax account. Then you have your operating expenses account. You have your owner profit account, which is what you're taking home as a salary. And then you also have a profit account. And really profit first, because so much with your business finances and your personal finances, it's about 2 things. It's about habit, and it's also about just your, I want to say, like, how you view and I guess your mindset around money. Let's say that. So it's really, I would say probably about 10% of all this is strategy. It's really a lot about getting into a habit of doing something with your money, and also fixing kind of your mindset around it. And I think Profit First does both of those things, because you get in the habit of moving your money. You're watching your money every 2 weeks. And so what happens is you have your owner account, but then you also have your profit account. And you're setting aside a percentage that goes into there, but that money is to be only spent on something for yourself as a reward. So the idea is that you don't invest that money into your business. So out of your 4 accounts, you have your tax account, which is going to the government. You have your operating expenses account, which is the things that you need to operate your business. You have your take-home pay, which is important. You take that home to your family, to do all the things that you normally do. But then you have that little reward account. And what happens at the end of each quarter is you pull the profits from that account, and you're supposed to do something with it that's fun and exciting. So don't put it back into your business. Don't go buy socks with it. Like, go do something fun with it. It's like actually putting this money aside and giving you permission to say, okay, this is like my money from my business, and I'm going to go get a pedicure with it, and I'm not going to feel guilty. Or I'm going to go and, take my friend or my family out to dinner, or, whatever. If you're just starting out with the concept, maybe you have just enough to go for ice cream with your family. Whatever it is, it's about that reward that you should be having in your business. You want to be rewarded by what you're doing, because it's going to, in turn, you're going to focus on these things in your business, like your finances and your sales and how you need to grow and things like that.
So when we're breaking down tax, operating expenses, take home, and profit.
Yes.
And
so the fifth account is actually called an income account, and this is where all your money is going to come into. So with the profit first method, it's every 2 weeks you move your money based on a percentage. And Tara, I think you and I have done this. We looked at where you had been in the past, and we look at where you want to go, and we say, okay, here's where you want to go. This is what this would look like if you ran these sales from last year. This is how much you would be taking home. This is how much would go to tax. And you look at that, but most people don't really ever start where they're at, like where they want to be. So you look at where you're at and where you want to be, and then you start to create a plan with those percentages to move the needle forward. And it all starts
at a level of comfort around it, right? Like it's baby steps that you need to take.
Yeah.
To get there, you need to get into the habit. Yeah.
Exactly. And so even for I would always recommend with this concept for the first quarter that you're doing it, to not shift anything too dramatically, but to get in the habit of moving that money. So everything comes in and starts with that income account, and it builds up. So you see that money there, and then you take it and you disperse it into the different accounts 2 times a month. And those are your pockets of spending. I actually just did this morning.
You did.
I did right before the call. And it's just, I think it also, with this concept, it really empowers you to make purchasing decisions too, because there are some people who maybe are the opposite. They don't invest in their business at all to move themselves forward. And sometimes they need that permission. Like, okay, this is my business money. I can spend this on advertising or something that I'm really have been needing to do. But, right now I'm taking everything home for my family, and I'm not really moving the needle forward in my business. I'm just staying stagnant because, I'm not investing in myself or my business. So there's 2 sides of it, and there's 2 ways that you can utilize it and look at it.
What are the percentages, Nicole? What are we looking at here for percentages?
So every business is going to be different. So if you have direct costs, if I'm speaking directly to service-based providers who don't have product that they're creating a product and then they're selling that like a physical product. The general rule of thumb is where you want to get to is 30% would go to you. 50% goes to your business.
So operating.
Your operating expenses. 5% profit and 15% taxes. And this is just what Profit First says is their base. This is where you want to be if you have a business under 250,000, and then they have suggestions from there. But everybody's business is different. So this is a good thing to try to get to, but you might already be only spending 30%, and you don't necessarily, every business is going to be different. And that's why I think it's important to take the concept, but look at what's going on in your business and even do some research on what other businesses are doing. So what is common in the market? Is it, a 50% cost? Is it a 20% cost? What are people in your industry spending in operating costs? What percentage are they taking home? And those are good markers to use. But just to keep it simple, those are the percentages that you would want to try to get to.
Yes. So the profit piece, so that's the fun money, right? The profit is the fun money. So that's 5%. Yeah. And then everything is going and starting with income, and you're moving that money around. And I think, again, it's looking at that data and recognizing the kind of any themes within your business, the peaks and valleys that occur, the various trends that you can pay attention to. And you may have moments where you're like, oh, I had no, and even just looking at the various services or products that you provide and really paying attention to what has the biggest margin, what is most popular, those kinds of things. You're missing some really great information that can inform your business in a way that may have never occurred to you. And in digital marketing, a lot of what we do is also based on that analysis, right? Where is the traffic coming from? How are they getting there? Where are their interests? And what are people responding to? And I think there's also that element of analysis with money, certainly. And there's people like me who would prefer to just not look at it because I have a problem seeing money as a direct reflection of what my worth is as a human, which is very weird. But I think that's fairly common, right? Like you think, you see the numbers and it's not where you want it to be, or maybe you're looking at the income piece of it versus the margin, and you're like, oh my God, I did horrible. But then if you look at the margin and you see how you're really striking that balance, it can be a total win. So it's really important to have someone like you, Nicole, or perhaps a colleague that can rein you in and help hold you accountable and keep things in perspective. Erica says, oh yes, that's big. Worth equals human. Worth equals you as a human. And she was taught that from a very early age. And I think that's pretty common, unfortunately. Meaning net worth. Yeah. Your net worth equals your worth as a human, which is not true. But we all internalize that from time to time. Yeah. Does anyone have any, and is there any QA? Does anyone have any questions that they want to pop in the chat? Nicole is here. She is an amazing treasure trove of knowledge. Even if you have questions about sloths, she could probably answer that question. Just kidding. Maybe. Chris says, your credit score does not equal your personal net worth, but in particular with the IRS, don't get caught unawares. Yes, that's absolutely true. You don't want to get caught. And you want to just have that awareness and that mindfulness and kind of know where you stand, what can be improved, and also celebrating small victories too, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing too. It's, it's important not to beat yourself up in business about what's going on with your finances, especially right now. We're living in a different world, and some people, business has halted. Some people are seeing an explosion in their business, and other people have just been kind of maintaining, or they've seen a little bit of a dip. And it's really important that as you're talking about your finances, not to get too wrapped up in, like you said, that self-worth sort of thing, but start to create a plan around it, because you're an entrepreneur. You're in business to make money. You're in business to bring money home. So start to create a plan, and it all starts with just being focused and intentional. And I always say you get what you focus on. So if you start to really focus on your money, like I just posted the other day and I said, hey, when I'm kind of feeling like a little bit stressed about money, I, on purpose, check every single account I have every single day. Now, that might be overkill, but for me, what that does is it stops me from putting my head in the sand. And I think that so many people do that as well, because, money's tight and you're kind of stressed out. So instead of sitting down and seeing where you're at, what you can do, and then making a plan to get where you want to go, it's just easier not to look at it. And it's easier to say, well, hopefully that will work itself out. And then you throw a couple things on a credit card, and next thing you know, you've got debt and, all these different things. So the steps that I always tell to people And what I always like to explain is it starts with the basics. It starts with having your numbers organized where you can actually see them. And the Profit First system does do that within your bank accounts. You can constantly see what's going on. But in addition, just having your accounting in order. But that's just the first part. The second part is, like we're talking about, creating that plan for your money. Because also, if you're not creating a plan for your money, then your money is going to do what it's going to do. Like, you're going to make half, not thought out, purchases, or you might not know where to hone in on your sales, like you're saying. So this is the second step, is really kind of creating a plan. And then the third thing is watching that plan. So having the data to know, like you said, this is where my business is the most profitable. I want to automate my business and I want more recurring revenue than I want to have to go out and find larger clients. It helps you hone in on where you want to build and grow with that plan. And then the third thing is watching it and having key performance indicators. Like, I suggest 3 that you watch. Where are your sales coming in? Your sales goals are this. What is it going to take to get there? How many leads do you need? And so, again, it all starts with the basics, creating a plan, and then you can go from there on, how am I going to get there? And it starts to make you focus on those things that are, important, because you're in business to bring money home for your family, right?
And I would also argue that, many of us are in business because we want to be in ultimate control, and we want to determine the kind of work that we do and what that work looks like. And I think that awareness also speaks to saying, having a set of standards with, say, clients and the kinds of projects, or maybe building boundaries around the recurring revenue piece, the example that you just gave. That was something that I've been concentrating on for the past year and a half. So I'm pouring more of my efforts into the kinds of things that I can build a solid process around and repeat over time and continue to hone and improve, as opposed to answering every little question and saying yes to all the things. I think that there's a lot of value in saying no to more things if they're not hitting your criteria. And I think that digging into the money piece of it, which tends to be a bit more black and white, can really help to, if you're on the fence about anything, that money, the data that you get from your money, can help you to really hone in on where to head next if you have any questions around that stuff. And maybe say no to some things so that you have more space to say yes to the really good stuff, to the stuff that really suits your business, right? That really hits your sweet spot, which is super important. I do have a question in here from Erica, and she says, in that shift to Profit First, is there a way to transition slowly before opening 4 new bank accounts?
You can, and it's the thing with having the bank accounts, your money there, is more about that mindset. And it's also about just getting in the habit of, like, physically handling your money 2 times a month. So you're physically moving it and you're seeing it and you're feeling it. So it's about that habit and the mindset around it. You can. I always recommend, if people are trying to start out, slow with the Profit First method, they're not really ready, because not everybody wants to open up 5 bank accounts, and I understand that. I always say the first thing that you need to do is take a tax aspect, open up in a bank account, and start putting money away there to get that out of your view.
Yes.
Because in the end, that money is going to the government, and tax time hurts if you haven't planned for it, and there's nobody else is going to do it in your business for you. They're not going to take it out of your paycheck unless you're an S corp and you are taking a paycheck. So that's going to be a little bit different. And still, then you want to plan, because you're going to get taxed to some degree, not as much on your.
And you don't want to be surprised. It is just the work. I mean, it's coming. It shouldn't be a surprise, and yet it's still a surprise for so many of us, myself 100% included. Trish has a question, and she says, what do you recommend in terms of, what do you recommend for having in your operating account at all times? Are you thinking like 6 to 12 months worth of operating expenses? Is there like a rule of thumb around that?
The general rule of thumb is to have at least 3 months operating expenses in your account. 6 is better.
Yeah, six months is better. So you say 6 as opposed to 12 months of operating expenses.
If you can get to 12, that's great, and a lot of it's going to depend on your business. But the general rule of thumb is to start with at least 6 or 3 to 6. Because you also want something that's going to be manageable. Because if you want to have a backup if all income stops, and what's going on right now is kind of a prime example of that. You know, in the world is, you know, business has completely halted for, you know, in brick and stores and things like that. So having that, and that's actually a really great question, and that is a piece of the puzzle that we haven't really discussed, is with all of your planning, you want to make sure that, yes, setting aside 3 to 6 months for operating expenses. Also, if you have debt, you need to plan to get rid of that debt. And so with the profit first method, in that profit account, you would take every 3 months 50% and send some of that to debt. Send some of that to your backup account and start building those. Yeah.
And would you recommend like a business line of credit just in case the shit hits the fan, so to speak?
So this, again, is going to be very business specific. I really try to encourage people not to, unless you have a really solid plan for what it's going to look like to pay that back.
Yeah.
If you're if you're a service-based business and you work from home, a lot of times a line of credit could potentially get you in more trouble than it could help you, unless you're saying, I'm going to invest, like I have a plan, it's mapped out, I'm going to invest in this, and here's my plan to pay it off. Now, if you have a brick and mortar, so to give another example, if you need to buy a large piece of equipment because you have a business, say, like I always go back to the restaurants because that's what I owned. You need to buy that oven. You need to repair your equipment or invest in new equipment. You need to make plans around that. But sometimes you have to get it. You have to buy things on credit and have a plan to pay it off. So having a revolving line of credit out there, it's going to depend on your business, but be careful with it. Yeah. What you don't want to happen, and you start creating a false cash flow in your business. So you think you're pulling the money from here, but your debt's actually racking up. And then you start looking at your bank accounts. You're like, well, I have money in my bank accounts and everything's fine. And when really you're just racking up the debt over in the corner. So I would say it's not a bad thing, but know what you're going to use that for, have a plan for it, make sure that if you're going to be paying interest on something, that it is something that is going to give you a substantial return in your business. Like you need that in your business, and then you have a plan to pay that off.
Awesome. Right. Yeah. Think about it in terms of your return, that return on investment. Can you prove that investment will in fact result in a return, and then make sure that you have a plan for paying it back. Got it.
Yeah, because it's easy to have the money sitting there. If it's easily accessible, you could just by human nature, you could get yourself into trouble if you don't have a plan for it.
Yeah. Hell to the yes. I hear that. Yep. So we're at 10:45. So I have one remaining question. And you guys, if you have any additional questions, And I'm also going to, I put Nicole's information in the chat. She can be found at fusionprofits.com. I also put a link to her group, the Profitable and Empowered Entrepreneurs, which is, I mean, she's putting together courses, like basic courses for folks to follow if they really want to empower themselves around money and getting those money basics under. I mean, it's an incredibly valuable and generous group. So you guys might want to check that out. You guys are always welcome to message me if you have questions, and I can put you in touch with Nicole. I vouch for her. I use her. She's fantastic. So Nicole, this is maybe a slightly annoying question, and probably a question you're getting from all of your clients. What are you telling people about the SBA loans right now? And is it a no-brainer? Is it something everyone should be applying for? Like, what are your thoughts on that? What are the credentials? Who should do it? Is it even there? I don't even know.
Yeah, a lot of that is honestly beginning to wind down. If your business has been affected by everything going on, then yes, I would say jump in and get with your bank and see what you can do, because, and I'm going to speak specifically on the Paycheck Protection Program, which is the big, like, this has been kind of like the hot topic, I feel like, for the past month and a half. All the big corporations got in and they started paying it back. Because you as a business owner, if you're seeing a loss in your business, what it does is it allows you to pay yourself. It allows you to pay yourself for 8 weeks. And then that will also help with cash flow in your business. But the thing that you need to be aware of once you apply for this is that in order for your salary to be forgiven, you need to prove that that money went to the intended causes, which is your payroll or payroll for your staff, rent, your mortgage percent. They won't pay back principal, and they've got some other guidelines around. Just those are like the main things that you can get forgiven. So with that, you want to make sure that you can prove that money went to what it was supposed to. So if you're not running payroll for your business, meaning you're paying paying into unemployment and everything every month, most likely you have an S Corp if you're running payroll, or you don't have employees, you want to be real clear as you're making pools from your company that it's going from your company into your account, and you want to have a good tracking for that, because they're going to come back and you're going to need to say, hey, this money is what you gave me, this amount of money, this is what I used it for. And they're going to say it's forgiven. But if you don't have it nice, neat, and organized in your books, and you're not real clear on where that money went, they could say, hey, well, we're not going to forgive this.
Yeah.
And then you owe that money back. Which is
you have a good system in place for your clients. I'm assuming you have a great system in place for your clients.
So so there's tracking systems within QuickBooks Online you can use by using classes. I don't want to get too far down a rabbit hole with that. But yes, there are definitely ways that this is tracked, and with clean, organized accounting, this is easy. This isn't really a problem. Even going to get the loans, pretty much every single one of my clients who went to get a loan or apply for the grant or anything, it was very easy to say, okay, this isn't, the data was already there. And within a few minutes, you're able to pull what you needed for those loans. So that's another great thing. And it'll be the same thing asking for forgiveness. You'll say, okay, here are my reports. This is what it is. And it's an easy process. And that's one of the key things to just having everything nice and organized.
Cool. Yeah. And you can give the government what they need, and we can keep the doors open and keep the economy running to some degree.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, this was really, really great, Nicole. I love this. This was such a great conversation. Thank you for devoting so much time, and
Yes.
your willingness to answer questions has been amazing. Really, really, it's really great. It's so wonderful just to have a chat with you. I haven't had a chance to talk to you since you made your move, so it's nice to catch up. Chris says thank you. Of course, Samantha says me too. I love Nicole.
Yes.
She's absolutely amazing. Tris says
Oh,
thank
thank you.
you. Really
Yeah.
wonderful. And again, I'm going to shoot over her contact details. I'm going to put that in the Alchemy Business Accelerator group for you guys. I will also try to upload this video since we weren't able to go live on Facebook. Erica says, thanks, Nicole. So this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And, you know, if you'd be willing to come back sometime, we would love to have you, Nicole.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just let me know. Like I said in the beginning, I was like, I could talk for hours and I could probably go down 10 different rabbit holes of all the different things. So hopefully everything was nice and clear.
Oh, Chris also says the fact that Damien is a CPA. He is a very smart, knowledgeable CPA. He says the fact that Damien is staying quiet speaks to the value of your service.
Oh.
That's awesome. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Damien. That's awesome. All right, so have a lovely Friday, everybody. Have a kick-ass weekend, and I will see you all later. Have a great weekend, Nicole.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
You too, and everybody, thanks for jumping on.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Have a great weekend.